Here's what's happening on this edition of the Center of It All. We learn the history of the Pennsylvania Railroad at the Altoona Railroaders Memorial Museum, kick off WingFest at Tussey Mountain, and Mel is showing us how to cook a perfect steak. These stories and more coming up next on the Center of It All. Welcome to the Center of It All. We're up here at Tussey Mountain where WingFest is about to kick off for the night, and here's the action from the first round of Food and Fun. If it's the heat of summer, then you know it's time for WingFest. For many people in the area, this yearly event is the kickoff to their summer fun.
Yeah, you know, we have a lot of people that feel like summer really doesn't get started until they know WingFest is going on every Thursday night. This is our first one, and we're really excited about this crowd. This is a great turnout. Good sign for things to come with the following 6 Thursdays we got coming up.
Everybody loves WingFest, whether you're a wing connoisseur, a live music fan, or just looking for something fun to do on a Thursday night.
You can tell by the crowd here already. People like to get their weekend started, I guess, on Thursday. So got all the optimism of the weekend without any of the letdown.
You know, out here you're going to see all walks of life. You see everybody from people getting off work, business suits, to full families, kids. They have a bounce house here. There's music. There's all kinds of different things going on, not just the wings and the food. So it's every age group and everybody you're going to see out here.
Each week, 4 area restaurants bring their favorite wing sauce to win your vote and move on to the finals.
I didn't even think of what I was going to make till yesterday. I started just adding a bunch of flavors together and came up with a really good hot pepper sauce, and it turned out really good. And I actually put a whole bunch of basil in it, and which accented the hot peppers really well. So we'll see how that works out.
WingFest may be more famous for its entertainment than the actual wings themselves.
We're voted the best place to see live music in State College the past 2 years, and that's an award we're hoping to win again this year. And we have great musicians out here, 2 bands each night, and great place to see music, see a sunset. We've got the chairlift riding behind me. Great views, great spot to get a new profile picture for your social media. But then we also have awesome vendors out here. We got Jump This, house for kids. It's free for 12 and under. We have the fun center with go-karts and mini golf going all night. It's really a fun place to be in the summer.
Local food, drink, and music, all wrapped up into one great event.
A lot of local bands, a lot of great local bands. Tonight we have Miss Melanie and the Valley Rats. You can hear her right now. I mean, she can really sing, and these guys are awesome. Following them up, we've got Green River, which is the CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival, and John Fogerty tribute band. They're going to play 2 hours of that kind of music, and it's just going to fit in great out here with our crowd. Then we have J.R. Mangan and Olivia Jones band. We have My Hero Zero. We have Velveeta, Hybrid Ice. Just a lot of great quality bands that are going to get the crowd going out here, and a lot of them have played here before, and we know what they bring to the table, and we're excited to have them back.
The first round winner was Main Street Cafe, and they'll be moving on to the finals held August 27th. And of course, you can check out WingFest every Thursday right here on Tussey Mountain. Now when we come back, we take a trip to Altoona to learn the history of the Pennsylvania Railroad. Welcome back. We recently stopped by the Railroaders Memorial Museum to experience the history of Altoona during its heyday. A common heritage of uncommon people. Altoona was founded as a railroad town for the Pennsylvania Railroad and is the location of one of the most famous railroad sites in the world. The Railroaders Memorial Museum commemorates the lives of the people living and working for this railroad.
The museum was built to honor the railroading legacy. Altoona employed thousands and thousands of people here with the Pennsylvania Railroad, all the historic shop complexes. They built locomotives here, they built boxcars, they built everything here. And so all the employees that lived here is what we honor in the museum, not just the pieces of cars you see, but the railroaders themselves.
Located just outside of town is a piece of track that took the Pennsylvania Railroad to new heights.
The most famous railroad site in the world is the Horseshoe Curve, which is up in those mountains. And the Horseshoe Curve was built way back by hand, actually, all filled in by hand. The Horseshoe Curve, you had to cross the mountains. And back in the 1800s, it was way too difficult to do that. They tried using the portage railroad, where you would haul a car up at a time. But an engineer sat down and figured out that they could bridge the gap by making a real sharp inclined horseshoe across two mountains by filling it in. And so they had thousands of laborers doing it by hand, hauling wheelbarrows of fill in, donkey carts of fill. They filled it up, and if you go up there now, it's a maze. There's a road that goes under the fill, and there's still the tracks on top of the same fill that they did by hand back in the 1800s. It's really amazing.
Once the Horseshoe Curve was completed, the travel time between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh was cut down from days to just hours.
A lot of people didn't have the luxury of, quick car trips to somewhere else, and they would ride this train to, like you heard in there, the first stop would be Tyrone, Huntington, Mount Union, Lewistown, as you go all the way down to Harrisburg. And you would go up this way and you'd go to Johnstown and you'd go to Pittsburgh. And it was really the lifeblood to get people back and forth to places.
From 1900 to 1930, Altoona's population grew from 39 to 82,000 residents. And for years, Altoona was one of the most important railroad facilities in the country. With the Pennsylvania Railroad's repair and maintenance shops, its locomotive construction facility, and its test department.
In the heyday of 1910, they were building steam engines every day. They were just pumping out steam locomotives. And then as you went through World War I and World War II, the need was even more dramatic for passenger service, freight service.
Today, Altoona has a growing tourist industry with many significant cultural resources within the city. Most of the resources are linked to the city's long railroad history. If you're down near Altoona, I highly recommend checking out the Horseshoe Curve. It's really a sight to see. Now, when we come back on the center of it all, Mel is cooking up a steakhouse classic. Welcome back to the center of it all. We're up here on Tussey Mountain where the deep fryers are getting warmed up for tonight's WingFest. And right down the road, Mel is cooking up the best mac and cheese you'll ever have.
Bacon, blue cheese, and beef. It's a combination we Americans love. We love it on our burgers and we like it on our steaks. And when we go into a steakhouse, what's our favorite side dish? Macaroni and cheese. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a blue cheese and bacon macaroni and cheese. Con chile with pancetta and gorgonzola sauce. And I'm going to be cooking it up with 2 of my 10-minute T-bones. Let's get started. This pasta dish goes together in about the time it takes to cook pasta. So I just like to prep my steaks ahead of time. I've taken 2 1-inch thick T-bones and I've put them in a disposable aluminum pan because I don't like to clean up any mess. I put a few pats of butter on them, just enough so that when they're under the broiler, they're going to brown up really nice. And I'm going to give them a really good grinding of peppercorn blend. And if you're going to notice, I'm not going to add any salt to my steaks. These are going to sit for about 10 or 15 minutes. And salt should be applied after the steaks are cooked because if it's applied first, it will dry out your steaks. So now let's move over to the cooktop and make our pasta. Making a top-notch blue cheese sauce couldn't be easier. And gorgonzola is blue cheese, so in essence, that's what we're making today. I've melted 2 tablespoons in the bottom of a 2-quart saucepan. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of flour, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to stir this around really quick until it's smooth and thick. This is called making a roux. This takes only 30 seconds. That's perfect. And now I'm going to add 1.5 cups of cream. Yes, cream. It's the real deal, and it's got to be the real deal. You substitute milk or anything lesser, and your sauce, or let me say this, don't complain to me if your sauce doesn't thicken properly. Now I'm going to adjust this to a nice gentle simmer, and I'm just going to let this cook, and I'm going to stir it every once in a while for about 2 to 3 minutes. This has been simmering for exactly 3 minutes, and it is really rich and creamy. The last thing I have to do here is to add my gorgonzola cheese. And feel free to add any of your favorite blue cheese, Dana Blue if you like it. Any kind of Danish cheese is great. That's about 1.5 cups of crumbles. I'm going to turn this down nice and low, and I'm just going to stir this constantly for about a minute or less. Wait till you see how fast it thickens. This is perfect. I'm just going to turn the heat off, put a lid on it, and I'm just going to move it to the back of the stove, and I'm just going to let it sit there while we start working on our pancetta and onion mixture. I've put my pasta water in an 8-quart stock pot, and I'm going to put that on high to boil while I start cooking my sauce. And over medium-high heat in a nice saute pan, I'm going to add about 1/2 pound of pancetta. Pancetta is nothing more than an uncured Italian spiced bacon, and feel free to substitute raw bacon for pancetta. Now I'm just going to get this, I want to turn that heat down just a little bit. I want to cook this pancetta nice and slow for about 3 to 4 minutes until it's just starting to turn golden brown. Pancetta is about halfway cooked through. The bottom of the pan is nice and golden brown. So now I'm going to add about 1 cup of finely diced onions. And I'm going to let this cook another 2 or 3 minutes until the onions are just tender and maybe about to turn golden brown, but we don't want them to really turn brown. In the time it took for my water to come for a boil, my pancetta and onions are cooked perfectly, just short of browning those onions. I am just going to turn this off, my pancetta off. I'm going to move this to the back of the stove while I cook my pasta. My water is boiling, and I'm going to add my pasta. This shape is called conchili, C-O-N-C-H, conch shell, seashell. It's a shell-shaped pasta, not the kind we see typically in the grocery store. This one is shaped like a conch shell, but feel free to use 1 pound of medium shells. Just going to add this to my water, and I like to sprinkle it in a little bit at a time. I'm going to give it a quick stir, and I'm going to let this cook till it's really al dente, about 9 minutes, because it's going to get cooked into my sauce for an extra minute or 2 at the end. And while this simmers, I'm going to go put my steaks under the broiler. I've cooked and drained my pasta. It's steaming hot. It's exactly the way I want it to be. I'm going to set that to the side. I've put my pancetta mixture back on the stove. It's at a nice gentle saute. I'm going to add fresh spinach leaves. This is about 6 ounces of them, roughly about 8 cups. Okay. I'm going to take 2 spoons, like a salad. I'm going to toss this for maybe a minute until my spinach wilts. And this is called wilting the greens, if you ever see that term. Oh, this smells delicious. They're already losing their moisture. Less than a minute. Okay, the leaves are starting to turn a really, really beautiful bright green. So now I'm going to add all of that steaming hot pasta, pound of pasta, and whatever little bit of pasta water is left in them is going to finish steaming these greens. Get all that pancetta through. That's why you really need to use shells or congeali so all those little holes can get filled up with this sauce and this pancetta. Okay, time for the sauce. All 2 cups of our gorgonzola sauce. Perfect. I'm going to lower this heat because we really don't want to cook this anymore. We just want to toss it. How yummy. And now, just at the tail end, I'm going to toss in a cup of lightly toasted walnuts. I'm going to quickly put a cover on this. I'm going to move it over to the countertop. I'm going to take my steaks out of the broiler, and it's time to eat. This very special pasta dish isn't one you're likely to find on a steakhouse menu anywhere. So the next time you're picking up the phone to make reservations, call a few friends instead. Invite them to your steakhouse. They're going to love you for it. For these and all of my recipes, just go to my website.
Mel, feel free to invite me over for dinner anytime. Now when we come back on the center of it all, we have highlights from the recent Toys for Tots car show. Welcome back. Car enthusiasts from all over Central PA came out to support the Center County Toys for Tots and of course show off their rides.
After a 1-year hiatus, the Toys for Tots Christmas in July car show was back. Hosted by WHVL with partners, the Nittany Leathernecks, muscle car owners and enthusiasts rode on in to show off their wheels and, more importantly, start spreading that holiday cheer. Secret Santas came from different corners of the state, from Somerset to Scranton, all to put a smile on a child's face December 25th. Being holly and jolly was most important, but there was some hardware to be handed out. With cars from the 40s through 2016 represented, it was a contemporary model that took home the best in show.
I was hoping, you're always hoping for one. I'm glad I got it. It's an 06 Mustang GT. I bought it slightly used and done all the modifications myself. Yeah, most of your car shows are for good causes, fire companies, and the Toys for Tot thing, and wounded veterans and such. It's mostly good causes. It's for a good cause, and I was here a couple years ago, and you sent me a flyer out. It's a good thing to do.
WHVL and the Nittany Leathernecks thanks all those who participated and donated in this year's Christmas in July car show.
Of course, you can see my name has changed. I got married last week at Talleyrand Park in Bellefonte in front of all my friends and family. I had such a great time, but the day flew by. I had a beautiful cake made by Dolce Vita Desserts, and the reception was at Hoag's Catering. We were a little worried about the weather, but the rain held off and it was a perfect day. But take it from my experience, planning a wedding can be very stressful. But the doctors at the Cleveland Clinic have some tips on how to relieve that matrimonial anxiety. Anxiety and wedding planning seem to go hand in hand. But as the big day approaches, following a few simple rules can help you keep your anxious feelings from getting the best of you. Dr. Joe Rock is a Cleveland Clinic psychologist who suggests asking yourself a few questions every time you start stressing out.
It's like, wait a minute, what am I doing? What does it mean to me? Hopefully this is happening just one time, maybe the most important day of my life. Do I want to put pressure on myself or do I want to enjoy it?
Dr. Rock says many couples worry too much about everything being perfect. He says more elaborate weddings tend to have more moving parts and much more to be anxious about. To keep your nerves in check, Dr. Rock recommends staying in the now. He says people fear what they cannot control, so avoid wondering, what if? He says the couples who seem to enjoy the whole wedding process the most are the ones who can let it go.
The people I see who really have a good time are people who aren't expecting it to be perfect. You know, they're expecting some things to go wrong.
Dr. Rock says to learn some meditation and relaxation techniques. Well, that's all for this edition of the Center of It All. For more great WHVL content, log on to our YouTube page and like us on Facebook. Thanks for watching and have a great week.